That promise has got a lot of attention on social media and also on traditional media in homes and offices and places across the country. People are asking the question, okay, what exactly did the vice president mean? And if he wanted to give an opportunity to persons living with disability, I'm sure that he could have done that. But why did he wait all this while before now announcing that it would give an opportunity to persons living with disability? Helen, what do you think about this new promise by the Vice President to the people of the Republic of Ghana?
I mean, anything that will help persons living with disabilities is something that we should all welcome as a people. It's not a bad promise at all. But I do also look at it with a side eye, if you will, especially because of the current state of affairs as far as PWDs are concerned, persons living with disabilities are concerned. I take your mind back to even the toll booth saga when the then roads minister decided to, on his own, abolish road tolls, and by extension that stopped the employment of certain persons living with disabilities who were at the polls collecting monies. And since then, I don't think any real strides have been made to rectify that situation. They were promised that they would still be able to take home pay, whilst government reassigns them or finds something else for them to do. How do I connect the two? Or what's the connection between what the vice president is promising and this toll booth saga? If you're wondering how I'm connecting the two, as a people, as governments past and present, I don't know if we've made enough or shown enough commitments towards persons living with disabilities as far as their well-being is concerned. In fact, overall dignity, etc. And that is why for me, this promise is one that I welcome. I also take it with a pinch of salt because it is an election year. I mean, we're promised all manner of things. And so if I'm a bit skeptical and I'm looking at it with a side eye, it's because the past is informing my present.
You say the present is not the past, or the past is not the present.
The present is not the past, or the past is not the present. If I had seen more commitment, especially on the part of this government, towards persons living with disabilities, I would be more convinced. This one seems to be coming, maybe not coming out of nowhere. There are other things that have been done behind the scenes. Then I haven't been privy to that. Also, questions of funding. These days, because we are citizens and not spectators, even when we are promised things, we go a step further to ask, how is it going to be possible?
Right.
It's not enough to just say that we'll do X, Y, Z. We know that our fiscal space is quite tight. Even providing the free SHS is something that has become very difficult. It's one that also government has had a very strict posture on, not willing to review, if you will. If we say review, then sometimes it's taken as you mean to say cancellation, and that's not what we're saying. So to add on free tertiary education for persons living with disabilities, that could put a big strain on our pockets. So I simply want to ask the Vice President, how exactly is that going to be funded? Exactly, to do that, and also in a way that is sustainable, not that we start something big and strong and then it falls by the wayside. We've promised persons with disabilities too many things and we haven't been able to deliver. These are people that have to live in dignity as well.
As we speak, persons living with disability who used to work at the toll booths do not still have their jobs. Some are old arrears, and I remember very well, I was told on this network, and on Alfred and you as well, were told that some of them committed suicide because they couldn't take care of themselves, and they owed so much, etc. So it's just not fair that we may take advantage of their vulnerabilities, appeal to them because of an election year, but then what is the reality on the ground? Their reality is that they are not properly taken care of. Their reality is that a social protection standpoint is not the best. Their reality is that people always think that, well, they should play second fiddle to everything that's going on. Their reality is that they've been asking for an upgrade of how much is dedicated to persons living with disability within the common fund structure. Their reality is that like I showed at the Jolu Specials, what do you call it there, Greater Accra Assessment Center at Achimota. You saw the place and how it looked like, and how people who are supposed to be vulnerable in society, I mean, the facility that's supposed to assess them and take care of them and to recommend where they go in itself needed a lot of assistance. So the persons living with disability conversation, I'm happy that the Ghanaian society has woken up to it. But I think we're playing too much politics, too much politics with their livelihood. Too much politics with it.
And with their lives as well.
So I am very, very clear on the way forward. I believe that persons with disabilities, we are going to have to support them a bit more. Persons with disabilities, we are giving scholarships to every sort of person, but I want to dedicate some of them monies from our scholarship secretariat and the GET Fund to provide free tertiary education, both tuition and accommodation, to all persons of disabilities who make it into the universities, so that they can all benefit from that.
And that was Dr. Bawumia's promise. Well, some NDC folks have said that, well, this is a stolen manifesto idea, because in 2020, the NDC had this idea in the People's Manifesto, as they call it, page 74, item 7, paragraph 2 and 6. And they said, look, we have said it already. You cannot come and be saying these things again as if it's something new, because it's already been said now. Now, the question is that what the country needs at this time? And is the country able to afford it? And if we decide that we can afford it, what is the sustainability plan? And within the sustainability plan, how do we ensure that it doesn't go to persons living with disability who are just politically exposed, or is going to every person living with disability who gets it? Because as we speak, even in the disbursement of the District Assembly Common Fund, there are people who have written their names, queued, and are waiting for their turn, either to get a sewing machine or school fees or something. And some of the times, by the time the money is given to you as school fees, you would have gone through 2-3 years of school already. So we need to pay proper attention to some of these promises that are made to persons living with disabilities. It's only fair that we get it. But Alex Kojo Tetteh is the President, Center for Employment of Persons Living with Disability. He joins us on the phone line. Alex, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, sir.
Now, the Vice President and the MPP's flag bearer is promising that persons living with disability will have free tertiary education. In 2020, John Mahama and the NDC's manifesto on page 74 also pushed forward that agenda. What does your organization think about it on behalf of persons living with disability?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a welcome news. It means that the flag considered persons with disabilities as one of the very key factors becomes the president of this country. So we are glad. Secondly, for the it's a great news that we will be giving to be able to go high in education and that of getting employment. So it's a good news, but this is just a promise. So that when he'll become president, he'll be able to implement it.
Now, in terms of implementation, that brings us to the next point, where you are made such promises and many others. For example, persons with disability were told will be giving the first hand. In fact, the jobs at the toll booths were going to be reserved for you. At the time when the abolishment of those levies came into being, you were not even contacted. That's one. Number two, most of the people still feel peeved. They have not been compensated. And number three, most of the people are still unemployed. If you juxtapose this happening with the vice president in charge as number two in the government against what he's now promising, do you believe that it will be achievable?
That is another matter. But what has happened with the toll so sad. For 2 years, our people have been struggling. After the toll booths, the appointment were terminated. But it took the initiative of the Youth Employment Agency, the Chief Executive, he has been able to employ all the former toll workers. Have been terminated. He has all of them, and they've been offered appointment letters, and they've even started work. For us, it's a 50-50 affair. Happy. It's just a promise. So, and its promise comes after. So when he has said it, we will follow it up and ensure that it's implemented.
Now, you will follow it up, and that's good. But the commitment levels to get this done has always come into question. Do you and your organization ask those questions too?
And it looks like you're not.
Mr. Tetteh, I'm asking that the commitment levels for some of these projects always come into question, and the press will ask questions. Do you and your group also ask questions?
We do, and so through your medium, we're asking questions that. Once he has promised it, and he even gave where from. He talked about the scholarship. The scholarship will be reserved persons with disabilities. As we speak, scholarships are not given to persons with disabilities to get scholarship as persons with disabilities. So, to promise before, or it has to be factored into the person manifesto, and then after the comes to power, he tries to implement it. So to start with, we are happy with the promise, and he comes to power. We'll make sure that before this promise by implementing it.
I see. What does this promise mean to you? I mean, if all persons living with disability get free tertiary education, what will it mean?
Please, can you repeat it?
I'm asking that if all persons living with disability get free tertiary education going forward, if it's done by either NDC or MPP, as it appears both of them have promised now, what will it mean for the persons living with disability community?
It will mean a lot. It will mean a lot. It's persons who are able to go through basic processes will have access to go to have education. And it means that it opens employment for persons with disabilities. They'll be able to have the requisite capacity to be able to work. Employers will be willing to have abilities because they have the ability. Parents will do all they can to ensure that they are able to push through or go through the complete it, so that they will benefit from the free tertiary. So this is what it will mean to with disabilities, and of course the status of disabled people will be high, and then other things will follow. Other opportunities will be open to us. Education is key, and knowledge is power. So it means that persons with disabilities would also raise their status and be educated and have the capacity to contribute to nation building.
Were you part of the brainstorming session before this promise was put out there in the public domain?
No, we were not part. What happens is that we, as a disability community, came up with a manifesto, a disability manifesto. So and this manifesto factored everything that we expected any of the political parties that come to power to do for us. In fact, I can mention that free tertiary education wasn't part of the thing, but we did state in our disability manifesto that our education should be accessible and also affordable. And so, out of the political parties, if they decide to make tertiary education free to persons with disabilities, it's well and good. I'm sure, and what I will recommend is that after this promise, they will come back to us, and then we would also input into how implementation of this will be feasible.
I see. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time, Alex Kojo Tetteh, Executive President. Yeah, we're grateful. Thank you so much indeed.
Grateful too.
And Africa Education Watch, we're trying to pick their thoughts as well on it. So, Helen, it's clear they were not consulted. The promise was just made publicly. They heard it, but they think it's a good call, and that if it's implemented, it will help persons living with disability gain more grounds, more inclusivity and the rest. There's always that blueprint question that comes up, and what weight that the party places on such promises in their manifesto. I don't know if you have thought around it.
When you talk about what weights that they're placing on it, how important is that?
So
right.
a guiding principle. Okay, this is what we want to do. Free tertiary for all persons living with disability. This is how we want to roll it out. Short term, medium term, long term plan. This is how much it's going to cost us. By 5-year period, by 10-year period, this is how many graduates would have gotten in what fields. All of those dynamics. I don't know if they have done it, because it just appeared that we will give public persons living with disability an opportunity, and that's it. Look, for the avoidance of doubt, let's hear the Vice President again. Let's hear him.
So I am very, very clear on the way forward. I believe that persons with disabilities, we are going to have to support them a bit more. Persons with disabilities, we are giving scholarships to every sort of person, but I want to dedicate some of them monies from our scholarship secretariat and the GET fund to provide free tertiary education, both tuition and accommodation, to all persons of disabilities who make it into the universities, so that they can all benefit. So I am very, very clear on the way forward. I believe that persons with disabilities, we are going to have to support them a bit more. Persons with disabilities, we are giving scholarships to every sort of person, but I want to dedicate some of them monies from our scholarship secretariat and the GET fund to provide free tertiary education, both tuition and accommodation, to all persons of disabilities who make it into the universities.
Vice President Dr. Bawumia there.
So again, very laudable idea, of course. This would free up, shall I say, some fiscal space for persons with disabilities to enable them to advance their education. It's not cheap pursuing tertiary education. But as you say, we want to see the blueprint, what exactly is going to go into this policy in terms of funding, long-term sustainability, and so on and so forth. Interestingly, this story is captured in page 8 of the Ghanaian Times, and it says that the initiative aligns with broader efforts to promote social justice and equity, enhancing Ghana's standing as a champion of inclusive education policy. So if it's part of broader efforts to promote social justice, then we have to be looking at those efforts that are already in place. Are those efforts fortified? Are they strengthened? And sometimes I feel as though we don't like to strengthen or solidify the foundation before we bring up some of these ideas. For example, we haven't sorted out land train, then we bring sky train. For example, just to bring the matters into context. It's a great initiative, a great policy. If we have the funds for it, I think it's a step in the right direction. But what have we done for persons with disability already at the foundation level? How are we empowering them already before we add on to what is going on? I think let's strengthen the foundation and then we move on from there. It's an election year, so please don't begrudge me the opinion that some of these are also just promises that are made to your voters. Take it however you will, but you and I live in this country. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and it would be a shame for us to keep on playing with persons with disabilities. We've made a lot of promises that we haven't fulfilled. These are citizens just like you and I. At any point in time, you and I can become disabled, and we will need the intervention of government to enable us to live dignified lives. So yes, again, good initiative, good policy. How do we fund it? How do we sustain it? And also, can we go back to the drawing board, strengthen policies already that exist?
Okay, earlier we heard from Alex Kojo Tetteh, is the President, Center for Employment of Persons Living with Disability. Now we go to Divine Pay. He's a Senior Programs Officer, Africa Education Watch, and he joins us on the phone line. Divine, please raise Divine back on the phone line so we can engage Divine on this particular matter. We want to hear from the education think tank what they actually think. But you know that sometime in 2020, John Dramani Mahama had also promised that persons with disability were going to get free tertiary education. He didn't get in power. The people of Ghana rejected him at the polls. But then he hasn't also given indication that he's moving away from that, except to suggest that persons living with disability do not need sympathy. What they need is support, what they need is help, and what they need is the empowerment that they can get, and they can do excellently. It doesn't matter what it is that or where it is that you find yourself. I think that as a country we tend to look down on a lot people living with disability. We tend to think that they are not complete, they are not able, they are not capable. We think that, as for these people, they are vulnerable, we need to support them. I mean, have you given them an opportunity to shine? That's the question I always ask. Always. Well, Divine Pay is the Senior Programs Officer, Africa Education Watch, is joining us on the phone line now. Divine, good morning.
Good morning, George.
Divine, there's some noise in your phone. It looks like...
I'm also thinking it's from your end.
No,
I can also hear it.
It is from your end. We'll call you back. We have to call you back.
Fine.
All right. It's the devil is a liar, is it not?
Absolutely. But Johnny, also this story provides us some numbers here. If we are thinking about what population of the country constitutes PWDs, according to the 2021 Ghana Population and Housing Census reports, persons with disabilities in Ghana constituted about 8% of the country's population. So in excess of 2 million people in Ghana live with disabilities. It's a significant statistic from which qualified persons could access this policy. So it's no small number, and this is as of 3 years ago. Potentially that number could have risen. So it's something that has to be considered carefully because these are huge numbers.
Divine, let's try again and see if you're... Divine, good morning. Hello, Divine, good morning.
Good morning, John.
Great, it's better now. I'm sure you've heard the Vice President's promise to persons living with disability that, well, if they do qualify for tertiary education, they will get free support there. The arguments that are also made that in 2020, this was in the NDC's manifesto. First of all, what do you think of this promise in terms of the reasonability and the actuality in terms of it's coming into being?
Thank you, and good morning to your listeners. Yes, if we want to provide social safety for persons with disabilities so that they can also access tertiary education, it is a good idea. It's not something that we would discount that is important because we know some of them are stressed financially, and providing some safety for them in terms of financial assistance is crucial. But we need to be cautious and ask ourselves if we are at a point of able to do that without adding additional financial stress, what we are doing already. Because I know when it comes to persons with disability in the tertiary institutions, there's a sort of program government is running, providing them grants in the form of base rates, where government provides allowance to them so that they can use to support themselves. It's not entirely free. There is no free education. What the program is doing that monthly or semester based, supposed to do some base rate to them so that they can use that to support their academic work. But since 2019 up to last year, I know that particular program has been in arrears, and such that over 200 persons with disability in University of Ghana even have to make a demonstration or even call for the Rumba or for the registrar of the scholarship secretariat. And even if you want to extend that beyond UG, other persons with disability in some other tertiary institution also lamented that that particular program was not even being implemented, where there has been arrest over 3 years. So even if they want to take that alone, how we are implementing that small portion of amount to be given to them in the form of base, we are not even be able to implement that effectively. Then the question comes, if you want to shoulder the entire financial cost of persons with disability in tertiary institutions, how are you going to do that and how sustainable that is? If you look at recent data on persons with disability in our tertiary institution, they constitute about 10%. And if I'm using the last academic year enrollment data for tertiary institution, then their number would have been a little over 64,000. And if you want to take an average cost for tertiary education in Ghana for persons with humanity, and multiply that with this 64,000, then it means that government should be projecting about 7 billion annually to be able to implement that particular policy of providing free tertiary education for persons with disability, where I see it, I don't see that we are in a position to do that, because even to take free in the high school, that we are doing about 2 billion on average annually. Budget credibility is very low. The last budget credibility in 2021 was about 51%, meaning that of the amount allocated, only 51% was released. So if government is struggling even to do an average of 2 billion for space in a high school, then if we want to project that to tertiary level, where government will need about 7 billion annually, then I think it will be a lot that the government cannot be able to fulfill, even if you want to take the very surface that bursaries and that bursary alone is scenarios for over 3 years.
Well, but the argument is also made that, look, if you look at our district assembly common fund structure, we actually have money sitting down for persons living with disability. So we have already done the background work, we have done the piloting, even though not in that specific area, but people come from tertiary institutions to take their share of the person living with disability allocation and take it to the university. So why do you not see it's possible when we have actually done a pilot on so many different fronts?
Yeah, we've done pilots, and still we are here, and we are not able to fully implement it. You are talking about the district assembly's common fund. John, you are very aware of how that particular fund is also in distress. The very fact that what the constitution mandates that annually we should allocate to the fund, we are not even meeting that commitment. And aside that, there are arrears of the district assembly common fund. So if that is the source of finance we want to rely on, again, I'm afraid, I'm not sure we'll be able to. And that particular fund cannot even cover up for all the persons with disability that are in tertiary institutions and even want to access tertiary education. So I don't see the district assembly as a viable source of income. I don't even currently see the scholarships secretary as a viable source of income. I don't also see the Ghana Education Trust Fund as a viable source of income. And then the student loan, if we want to follow on it, for me, I feel That one is a loan, but even with that one, it can't even cover the entire expenditure that they really want. So we did a financial responsiveness of the various public financial assistance we have in the country, the student loan, the scholarships that we have, the GNP scholarship, Get Fund scholarship. We realize that they are not even meeting about 30% of money that persons, the tertiary students need. They are not meeting our 30% of them, especially in the scholarship, the student loan scholarship. The student loan. So we have not strengthened our financial assistance schemes that are available for tertiary students, let alone to be saying we want to expand it to have a free tertiary education for persons with disability. I think what we can do in the interim, without necessarily being entirely free from the start, is to ensure that we strengthen the responsiveness of the the student loan scheme, such that it to be able to respond to some of their needs. And if we want to waive the percentage of money that they will have to pay at the end of their course, that is even something that we can pursue in the interim.
Now, I'm on the Ghana Web portal. 2020, 27th October 2020. It was a Tuesday. And John Dramani Mahama says, I will make university tuition free for the disabled. And he goes on about this same promise. Some have said that is in page 74 of the NDC 2020 manifesto. Now, it appears both parties, the NDC and the MPP, who are at the forefront of our democracy and our electioneering stuff, have both agreed that it is time now to give to them. Should we not be encouraging them to have a blueprint instead in the manifesto so that we can actually hold them accountable and also monitor the progress if it happens at all?
That's very important. I think for now, as a country, we need to move beyond just promises that are made by our political parties to begin to interrogate how they want to actualize those promises. So if NDC captured that in their, of course, yeah, it was captured in their last one, and the vice president is making such promise again also. I think it's very important that we don't just let the conversation settle on the promise made, but actually ask them, how do you want to do this? Because the statistics and the financial distress that we are in, we do not see this feasible. So what actually they would want to do, and what are the other sources of income that they want to depend on to actualize this? We don't have to encourage sourcing loan to implement these freebies, and that's what we have done for the Free Senior High School program. And this is where we are now. We are so much debt distress, and we are not even sustainable when it comes to settling our debt. So if we want to say we want to implement free tertiary education for persons with disability, and the only option is to go and borrow to do that, I'm afraid we are already seeing where we are. We need not to add more to our debt distress.
Divine, I thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful.
Thank you, John.
Cheers. Is there hope for them?